Welcome to the Welsh Woodman Workshop, and in tonight's video I'm going to be wood turning this lovely piece of Holly Burl into a bowl. So normally on burl, so these growths on the side of a tree, there's some really unusual grain pattern hidden inside. So it's like unwrapping a Christmas present and seeing the pattern. Never turned a Holly Burl before, so we'll see what we're going to get inside this. So I hope you really enjoyed tonight's project, and if you do, remember to hit the subscribe button down below so you can get more videos like this your way. Right, faceplate on. We're gonna turn away a lot of this, unfortunately, and try and get this more into the round, and we'll see what sort of grain pattern we're getting underneath. Got a bowl gouge with a Celtic or Irish grind on it, and I'm gonna be using that to rough this into the round. So I've got my handle down. I just want to establish a flat spot across the bottom. So I'm going to do some push cuts with my flute open. So the flute being the milled bit in the gouge. Now with the flute open you get a far more controlled cut and you're less likely to get a catch. I'm going to close the flute now and I'm doing a far more aggressive cut, which will remove material far quicker, which will shape the bowl essentially quicker and save you a bit of time. But if you've got an unbalanced piece like this, it can be safer just to do it with the flute open. So nice pull cuts essentially along this, using the wing of the tool to shave the material away. And we're going to do this until we can get a shape that we're happy with. We're going to constantly check the piece as we go. Let's have a look, see what we're doing. What have we got? Oop, definitely not flat. Kind of gnarly in there, isn't it? We're getting some unusual sort of patterns coming through. So I'm going to move my tool rest across to the side and more in, so we can get to the other section. Might have a little inclusion in this bowl, I think. And because we moved the rest, we always want to give them a spin around. So you can see I'm starting to float the bevel, so on that ground angle, so rub it across the piece. Look at the body position. I've got the tool nice and close to my body, moving with my hips, so put my weight from one foot to the other as I'm moving across the profile of the bowl. I'm just getting a rough shape at the moment, and I can start refining this shape then. So make it nice and smooth, blending it into a shape I like. I prefer to do it as a more organic process rather than just following a drawing, as I find that I get far more sort of desirable shapes that way, and it's a little bit more fun as well. So I'm starting to make a little foot that's going to become a tenon eventually, and I'm trying to remove material all the way from the bottom, doing like a push cut through all the way to the rim. Now because this piece is a little bit unbalanced, you'll notice I'm moving quite slowly with this, controlling my cuts. I'm getting slight chattering towards the end as I'm hitting air log a lot of the times. So we're getting really thin sort of shavings like that, which is good. I'm going to have a look at the shape of this now. There's a little tiny ridge there I'm not happy with. I'm going to blend that in, then we're going to work on the tenon, flip this round, get it mounted. So I'm just using a parting tool to create this tenon, and I realise how tough this burl is in using this parting tool and pushing forward. So I've just sharpened this and it's still struggling to cut, so pretty tough stuff. Okay, so we've got the tenon sort of established, so we'll cut this off at the end. I want to go do a slight undercut to match the dovetail profile of my jaws. So I'm going to be using a dovetail scraper to help me to do this. And these have been ground to the same profile as the jaws I want to hold on to. So I've got that slight undercut now, so the dovetail should be able to clamp on nice onto this. Let's have a look at the overall profile before we move on. So this is the sort of shape and pattern we're going to get. So I'm going to test my jaws out. If I'm happy with that, then I can sand and apply a finish. Then we can move on and turn the inside out, which should be quite exciting. So I'm going to apply a cellulose sanding sealer over the top. This will help seal in the grains. So we'll come back after we've applied the sanding sealer and after we've cut back with a little bit of sandpaper, then we'll apply our next finish over the top. So I've got 2 coats of sanding sealer that I've cut back in between. I'm just about to put a Danish oil finish over the top. Now I like Danish oil because it's not a shiny finish, it'll just soak into the wood. Tung oil is really good as well. So obviously it's wet now, that's why it's a little bit shiny. But this is going to be good in the fact that I'll be able to get down into some of these bark inclusions with it, rather than using a wax, which is always very difficult to get down into it. But what we can also do with the finish is we can apply a wax finish over the top if need be. But this is looking pretty nice. So some of this bark inclusion here will get turned away when we come to doing the inside, but pour a little bit of this on to that to blend it in. Ooh. And we're going to let this set and dry and come back to it. Otherwise it tends to be quite sticky otherwise if you don't let it set and you start working on it for your next stage. I'm just going to let that soak in for half an hour or so, have a cup of tea, then come back and see how it's done. Really pretty. I love working with burls because the grain's so irregular. You never really know what you're going to get until you start turning, so that's the exciting bit for me. Right, it's going to be a challenge doing the inside with some of these inclusions. Hopefully we'll get this little V shape still in there, and the same this side. So we'll be getting like a, not really a functional bowl, but it'll be a decorative bowl at the end. So I've applied 2 coats of Danish oil, let it dry for about half an hour in between to really sort of permeate and soak into the grains, and pretty happy with that finish overall. So I'm looking to make sure I definitely haven't got any sort of tool scratches or sanding marks left in there. Nope, happy with that. So we're going to unmount this now and turn it around the other way. Just going to use my Celtic grinder to drill a hole in the middle. This bill's quite tough stuff, to be honest with you. So I'm going to try and drill down about half the depth of the bowl. And by drilling out the centre, the advantage of doing this is that you're less likely to get a catch by going across the centre, which brings the tool round and bam, it's rather nasty. So I'm going to use my little pinky as a gauge so I can hold it up to the top, view by eye how deep I'm going. Obviously I don't want to go past that central point. I want to be drilling down to the bottom of the wall thickness I want to go through, or a little bit shallow of that. Yeah, that's about right there. So I've got my depth established. And we get to the fun part of bowl turning, taking out the centre. Do this pretty quickly, and I've changed over to a 40-40 grind, as I find this works really well for turning out the inside of bowls. So you can see me turning into that centre, so I'm hooking the tool into my body, moving with my hips right down into the centre, pushing through. And the advantage of that hole again is that it's really easy to turn into the centre. We can break this down into smaller parts. So if you can't get the curve all in one go like this, we can do it in separate parts. So push in, down. If we can't get the curve quite right, we can stop and then do it in several sections as well. So there's 2 ways of doing it. So I'll show you that again close so you can see the tool bevel is rubbing. We get these nice stringy shavings coming off if we're doing it right, and this burl is rock hard as well. So I'm probably going to have to sharpen my tools a few times as I turn in this project. Now I'll know when to sharpen as soon as the tool doesn't seem to be cutting efficiently, so cutting as well as it should. I'll sharpen straight away. So I've turned down to half the depth now, so my hole's disappeared, so I know how deep I've gone. So I really want to establish the wall thickness before I move further down, because we're going to be removing quite a lot of this material inside this little void. So we need to get the thickness and all the walls nice and cleanly cut as we possibly can before we move down, before we take that central support out. Otherwise the walls are going to vibrate slightly, like I found in the past. And if you do it this way, just work your way down slowly, you get a cleaner finish overall then. I know some of my friends will even sand before they move down for the centre, but we'll see how as we go. And it's really interesting the fact that we're getting some voids inside this that look like they've got some loose knots or something inside this. We'll try and get those out before we move on. So I'm going to aim to get an equal wall thickness throughout the entire profile of the bowl,
and that's going to allow the wood to move at an equal rate if it ever did move. So this is pretty seasoned, it's pretty dry, this stuff, but if it takes on moisture, it'll warp less if the wall thickness is nice and even.
So I'm working down along this wall, then I'm getting rid of this side wall, because the last thing I want to do is turn all the way into that side edge and catch on that lower wing, because it's going to go bam and take the tool in nastily. So I'm working away this side edge. Into that wall like you change my angle. Get in there. We can see how we've blown through that wall as I thought we would. Nice, good so far.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, I want to keep that central mass in, as the walls aren't going to vibrate as much, and especially because we've got voids, so gaps in the walls, we want this to be as sturdy as possible. So I'm doing some pull cuts out from the centre towards the edge of the bowl, then blending them in. I just found that's a nice quick way of doing it, at the same time keeping a nice steady wall. So I'm going to want to blend in the entire wall now from the rim downwards, and I want to make sure these cuts are perfect before I move further down into the bowl to get a smooth finish.
Right, so we've got the wall thickness I'm happy with established all the way along. Nice smooth transition, some gorgeous grain pattern coming through. So we're going to continue to cut down now. So keep working with my walls. Constantly going to have to stop, unfortunately, because I can't put my fingers in as a gauge or even calipers, because these edges are going to want to catch it quite nastily. So we'll keep stopping, checking, stopping, checking.
So you can see that we can actually see through the wall, so how much those little V sections are being cut in. So have to be really careful with your tool control not to get a catch on those sections. And we're getting these long, thin, stringy shavings coming off, which is telling me my tool is nice and sharp, and we're rubbing that bevel really well in terms of the cut.
So again, handle down as we're going in, rubbing that bevel to the angle point of the tool. So we've got a nice equal wall throughout. We've just got a bottom now to turn off a little bit. Make a little bit of a hollow into the bottom of this. So this is more of a decorative piece than a functional bowl anyway. We want a nice smooth round bottom. Finish off. So as soon as I start to come near to cutting uphill, I want to stop so I can work from the other way. And that way you don't tear the fibres as much.
So I'm cutting in from out again, so pivoting towards the wall, stopping before I get to the wall. You can see the long, thin, stringy shavings coming off. It's a nice and easy process. I've left the central support in right until the end with this one. And I'm just going to blend that in now. So blending those walls in to the centre. I want a nice smooth transition. So I don't want a flat bottom, I want a curved bottom, so your hand naturally feels out from the centre of the bowl all the way to the rim, nice and smoothly. So I'm just blending in now that pimple section in the middle, getting it nice and into the centre.
Good, so I think I've got my shape. And all I've got to do next is sand this guy up, get a finish on him, and then we'll have a look at the end. Right, we'll come back when this guy's finished. It's exactly the same sort of process I'm going to do on the inside. So I'm going to do a sand to begin with, 2 coats of sanding sealer, then Danish oil to finish him up. So I've just put 2 more coats of Danish oil over the top of this, and I'm pretty happy with how the finish has come out. So you can see it's not really shiny as such, but it's more of a matte finish on there. And we see all the pippy sort of grain patterns coming through from the burl itself. And having only turned a Holly Burl for the first time today, really happy with how this has sort of come out. And this is more of an arty style bowl, so more of a display piece rather than an actual functional bowl, due to the bark inclusions there, which made it quite fun and challenging to turn. All I've got left to do is carve off the little tenon on the bottom, do a slight undercut with my my carving gouges, and write my name on there with a pyrography iron, and I'll be all finished. So I hope you've really enjoyed tonight's project and you found it useful in some way. If you have, remember to click the subscribe button below, as that'll allow me to get future projects like this your way. Hope you have a great night. Diolch yn fawr. Nos da.